Hello everyone. Welcome back to this channel. On this occasion, we're once again going to discuss several leaks that I've managed to find and that I think are quite interesting to talk about. As usual, this information comes from sources that are considered fairly credible. Alright, now let's move on to the main topic. Today is Friday the 13th, and there's something that might be quite disappointing for many Honkai starrail players, especially for those of you who have been waiting over the past few days for news about the version 4.2 beta. If you've been following leaked developments in the past few days, you probably know that earlier there was information circulating suggesting that the beta for version 4.2 might be moved forward and start on the 13th. And today just happens to be the 13th. However, the reality is that up until now there has been no sign that the version 4.2 beta has actually been released today. This situation has understandably caused some disappointment within the community. That reaction is quite reasonable, because the expectations that had built up over the last few days were fairly high. Many players were hoping that today we would begin to see various gameplay leaks and other content that will arrive in version 4.2. But in the end, those expectations have not yet become reality, for now. Maybe some of you are already tired of hearing discussions about this beta schedule. However, in this video we'll still try to talk again about the possible reasons why the 4.2 beta v1 wasn't released today, as well as when the beta might actually begin. But before we get to that discussion, there are a few other interesting pieces of information that are also worth talking about first. The first piece of information is the fact that today is still an important day. Even though we didn't get the 4.2 beta, there is still a major event taking place, the special program for version 4.1. Some of you may have even forgotten about this event because you were too focused on waiting for the 4.2 beta. But in reality, the special program is always an important moment because it usually contains official information about the content coming in the next patch. Of course, it can't be denied that some players might not be very interested in version 4.1 because their attention is already focused much further ahead on version 4.2 and the characters that may appear there. Still, the special program often holds interesting surprises that can sometimes be unexpected. Next, we move on to the second interesting piece of information, which concerns Silverwolf 999 and EMC. This information comes from an anonymous uncle and was shared by Galaxy Leaks. Although the source is anonymous, what's interesting is that several leaks they shared in recent days have turned out to be quite accurate. For example, they previously leaked the splash art for Silverwolf 999. They also shared information about EMC's element, as well as a rather unique detail, that EMC appears to use something resembling a lightsaber or lightstick. And if we look at the splash art for EMC that is currently circulating, it indeed shows the character holding a weapon that looks like a lightsaber. This makes the information from this source seem fairly trustworthy, at least for now. According to a post from Galaxy Leaks, Silverwolf 999 apparently has a second form. Interestingly, this second form was not shown in the drip marketing that was released earlier. The main reason why this second form was hidden is most likely to avoid spoilers. Furthermore, the information also states that we might be able to see Silverwolf 999's second form today, on the 13th. If that turns out to be true, then it is very likely that this second form will be shown in the trailer presented during the version 4.1 special program. Now let's move on to the information regarding EMC. In the Galaxy Leaks post, it was mentioned that EMC's mechanic will roughly copy the elation skill of a previous teammate, and also provide a large number of punchlines. However, there was later a clarification stating that the part about providing a large number of punchlines was not entirely correct. In other words, out of the two pieces of information mentioned earlier, the part that is still likely valid is the mechanic that copies the skill of a teammate. This is quite interesting to think about. Mechanics like this personally remind me of characters such as Saridra, who has the ability to copy skills from allies. If this speculation is correct, then EMC might become something like a Sarydra 4 teams focused on the path of elation. Now we finally arrive at the main discussion regarding Beta 4.2 version 1. Let's start by looking at the chronology of events from a few hours ago. Initially, Seal Leaks shared information stating that a beta package had actually been sent according to the planned schedule. The package size was even said to be around 50.7 gigabytes, which is quite large. However, not long after that, Seal Leaks posted another update that turned out to be rather disappointing. It turns out that the package was not the beta for version 4.2 v1, but rather beta 4.0.54, which is actually the fourth beta for version 4.1. In other words, it is true that a beta package was sent today, but it was not the one we were waiting for. The package apparently contains updates related to PomPom AI. Essentially, it seems they are testing an AI chat feature related to PomPom. It's mentioned that around 12,000 testers are involved in testing this feature. I won't be able to discuss all of it because it would be too long, so you can pause the video and read it yourselves. What we can understand from this is that Seal Leaks wasn't entirely wrong about there being a beta package today. The mistake was more about the assumption that the package was for beta 4.2, when in reality it was still part of the beta 4.1 development. Because of this, Seal Leaks later stated that they still estimate beta 4.2 v1 will arrive next week. It's possible that the real release schedule for beta 4.2 v1 is March 17th, which was the date previously shared by Seal Leaks before they later updated it to say that beta 4.2 might start on the 13th. Interestingly, 3 days ago Neon Team Leaks also shared a screenshot showing the Memory of Chaos endgame schedule in the 4.1 beta. From that screenshot, the phase appears to end around 6 days after the screenshot was taken, which would fall on March 17th. This indirectly gives a fairly strong indication that beta 4.2 will most likely start on that date. If all of this information turns out to be correct, then we can say that beta 4.2 v1 will most likely begin at the earliest on March 17th. In other words, we may only need to wait a few more days before major leaks about patch 4.2 start appearing. That concludes our discussion of the latest developments within the Honkai starrail ecosystem that we could share on this occasion. We truly appreciate your attention and the time you've taken to watch this video until the end. We're also very interested to hear your thoughts and reactions regarding the information we discussed today. What do you think about the delay of the 4.2 beta? Do you feel disappointed, or does it not really bother you? Feel free to share your opinions, analysis, and personal views in the comment section below. Don't forget to also share this video with your fellow Honkai starrail players who might also be interested in the latest developments surrounding the game. Your support through likes and subscriptions will greatly help this channel continue to grow and keep delivering the latest information, in-depth analysis, and interesting discussions about Honkai starrail in the future.